At Christmas dinner, my daughter stood up in front of 40 people and announced that I didn't deserve presents this year. My name is James Wilson, and for 29 years, I'd quietly funded the life she thought was hers alone. Designer wardrobe, luxury car, downtown loft, European vacations twice a year. She believed it all came from her stepfather's success. When she publicly labeled me a financial failure who had never contributed anything meaningful to anyone, I made one phone call. 60 seconds later, her credit card started declining. Her car payment bounced, and the entire illusion she'd built came crashing down in front of everyone who had just watched her humiliate me. I never raised my voice. I never argued. I simply took out my phone. It started 3 days before Christmas at the Scottsdale Country Club. The first warning sign came when Vicky refused to pick me up. "Dad, just meet us there." Thomas is driving the Porsche. There's no room. Thomas Miller, my ex-wife, Catherine's husband of 8 years, owner of 3 BMW dealerships, the man Vicky called her real provider. I drove my 13-year-old Honda Civic with 187,000 miles on it. The valet tried not to wince. Inside, crystal chandeliers glittered over marble floors, and an 18-foot Fraser fur sparkled with $12,000 worth of ornaments. Thomas made sure everyone knew the price. Vicky sat between her mother and Thomas in a $2,800 Chanel dress she'd posted about 3 hours earlier. "Your blessed life, or Christmas glam. Thanks, Thomas." She barely glanced up from her phone when I said hello. Then Thomas gave his little speech. "Catherine and I are so proud of Vicky's financial independence at 29. That's what good guidance looks like." Applause. Smart investments help, of course. The trust fund from her maternal grandfather has grown beautifully under careful management. More applause. Vicky glowed. I said nothing. Eleanor Hartwell, sitting across from me, raised an eyebrow. She had known my grandmother Helen personally. She remembered exactly who had inherited what. Catherine turned to me with a sympathetic smile. "How's the job search going, James? 7 months now, isn't it?" "Still looking," I replied. Thomas jumped in. "There's always work for bookkeepers at small businesses. Less prestigious but steady." Vicky nodded in agreement with her stepfather, the same daughter I had secretly put through college, grad school, and every month of her adult life. She lived in a $4,200 a month loft, drove an $89,000 BMW M340i, wore nothing but designer labels, and bragged constantly about being self-made. None of them knew that for 127 straight months. On the 15th of every single month, $12,000 had moved from accounts I controlled into accounts she used: tuition, rent car, insurance, credit cards, vacations, shopping sprees, $3.2 million over 10.5 years, all structured to look like it came from Catherine's side of the family. The lie had been Catherine's idea during the divorce. "She needs stability. Let her think it's from my father's estate." I agreed because I wanted her to have the best life possible. I never needed the credit. Until that night, the cruelty peaked when Vicky raised her glass to everyone who actually provides value. She looked straight at me. "Some people build things, create wealth, take responsibility. Others just drift through life expecting the world to carry them." Thomas smiled proudly. "That's wisdom, sweetheart." I excused myself to the restroom. In the mirror, I saw a 52-year-old man in a $45 Target shirt deciding whether to keep financing the delusion or finally demand the respect I had never asked for. When I came back, Vicky was still going. She told the club president, Dr. Harrison, that I was between jobs, different priorities, that I was very traditional, hadn't adapted to modern financial strategies. She destroyed my reputation in front of the most connected people in Scottsdale, while wearing clothes I had paid for, sitting at a table whose membership I had quietly covered for 5 years. Eleanor Hartwell cleared her throat. "James, didn't your grandmother leave you something substantial?" Vicky actually laughed. "Grandma Helen? Dad, you never mentioned inheriting anything, though if you had money you wouldn't be." She waved a hand at my outfit. That was the moment everything crystallized. I reached into my jacket and took out the worn brown leather portfolio I had carried for years but never planned to open in public. Vicky kept pushing. Louder now, performing for nearby tables. "Take my father, for example. 52, laid off 7 months ago. Still looking for the right opportunity. Air quotes. Would you hire someone who drives a 13-year-old car and shops at Target? Dr. Harrison shifted uncomfortably. Because successful people create their own circumstances, Vicky declared. They don't make excuses. Then the final blow. I'm grateful. I learned what real responsibility looks like instead of expecting handouts. Handouts? I said quietly. She rolled her eyes. Come on, Dad. How many times have you asked Mom for money since the divorce? I had never asked Catherine for a single cent. In fact, I had quietly paid many of her expenses over the years. The room was hanging on every word now. Conversations at nearby tables had stopped. Vicky stood, voice ringing across the dining room. Some people deserve respect and gratitude. Others deserve exactly what their choices earned them, nothing. Thunderous applause. People were on their feet. She announced she was cutting me off effective immediately, basked in the ovation, accepted hugs from strangers. When the noise finally died, Eleanor Hartwell spoke softly. Victoria, before you cut your father out of your life forever, don't you think you should at least see what's inside that portfolio? Vicky smiled indulgently. With respect, Mrs. Hartwell, I'm not going to enable his delusions. Eleanor looked at me. James, your grandmother was very specific about teaching responsibility and gratitude, wasn't she? And she left you sole discretion over when those lessons would be delivered. I opened the portfolio. First document, Helen Wilson's original will. I placed it in the center of the table. To my grandson, James William Wilson, I leave my entire estate, to be managed at his sole discretion with particular attention, to teaching fiscal responsibility and gratitude to future generations. Vicky went white. Current portfolio statement, $8.3 million. Sub-account labeled, Victoria Wilson, discretionary. Fund, $3.2 million principal. Bank statements with every $12,000 monthly transfer highlighted in yellow, on 27 months without fail. Her BMW lease agreement, loft lease. American Express statements, all paid from the same trust. Thomas was sweating. Catherine looked ill. I pulled out my phone, dialed the after-hours emergency line of First National Private Wealth Management, and put it on speaker. Patricia James Wilson, please freeze all distributions and cancel every recurring payment on the Victoria Wilson sub-account effective. Immediately. Security questions answered. Commands confirmed. Within seconds, Vicky's phone began exploding with alerts. Payment declined, payment declined, payment declined. Rent, car, credit cards, insurance, everything gone. The dining room was dead silent. I laid the final page of the will on the table. Eleanor read aloud the clause that gave the trustee absolute power to suspend distributions permanently if a beneficiary ever demonstrated ingratitude, entitlement, or disrespect toward the source of the benefit. Then the very last paragraph. However, should the beneficiary later demonstrate genuine remorse, accept full responsibility, and show authentic gratitude, the trustee may, at his sole discretion, consider reinstatement on terms he deems appropriate. I looked at my daughter, mascara already running, phone still buzzing with the collapse of her world. The lesson isn't the money, Vicky. The lesson is character. When you're ready to have that conversation with humility instead of contempt, you know where to find me. I walked out. By the time I reached my car, I had 17 missed calls. By the time I got home, dozens more. On Christmas Day, her repossessed BMW was towed. The day after, her landlord threatened eviction. American Express closed her account and demanded immediate payment of the balance. 3 weeks later, she showed up at my door in jeans and a plain sweater, hair in a simple ponytail, carrying a manila folder, and the first paycheck from a real job. Sunny $600 a month after taxes at a medical billing company. She takes the bus now. She handed me a 3-page handwritten letter that began, Dad, I am so sorry, and never once asked for the money back. Only after I read every word did I pick up the phone and call Patricia again. Reinstate the Victoria Wilson account, I said. But going forward, the monthly allowance will be $2,000. Enough to live comfortably, not enough to forget what things actually cost. And every transfer will come with my name on it. No more anonymity. Some lessons are expensive, some are priceless.